Hi, everybody. My
Hello,
name, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. My name is Alexis Broi, and this is the Alexis AV Talk. So thanks for joining me today, CJ. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So just a quick intro. This year has been downright bonkers.
Yes.
The week of Memorial Day was probably the hardest for me personally out of all the weeks. And the week after that was hard, and the week after that was hard. And the country was erupting and still erupting in some places. And I personally was in a tailspin. Um, I talked with some of my friends during that time about, what are you doing? What can we do to make a difference in the world? And this web video cast is part of my contribution to trying to make a difference in our small part of the world, our little AV world, right? Um, I have been a beneficiary of workforce development programs. And I've always had a passion for trying to find deliberate ways to bring young people and people of color into the AV industry. That's something that I've tried to do and wanted to do my entire career. How do we make it a situation where people aren't just finding themselves falling into this industry, right?
Right.
And more deliberately getting into the industry. So I think that what you're doing at Lincoln Tech is being a person, being an instructor and being a person who is deliberately bringing people into the AV industry. And I think it's very cool. So you're one of the people that I wanted to talk to. I just wanted to make sure to kind of bring your gospel to the world and introduce Columbus Jones, introduce you, CJ. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and about some of your previous positions coming before you were at Lincoln Tech.
My name is Columbus Jones. A lot of people know me in the industry as CJ. Whenever I heard my full name, Columbus Jones, it was either from my mother or from my school teacher, and I knew I was in trouble.
Right.
Once you hear your first and your last name. So I said, you know what, let's just say CJ, and then I wouldn't get nervous. I've been in the industry now, I would probably say working in the industry full time as far as being an installer / programmer, probably say like 25 years, 26, 27 years as a instructor now, which I'll lead into for going on 3 years. Actually, I did it for 1 year in 2008, 2009, which I'll explain that. And then I recently just came back. But prior to being at Lincoln Tech, I was in the field. And when I got into this industry, I didn't even know that it actually existed. Actually, it was quite a surprise to me. I think at that time I was about 19, 20 years old. And I was going to DeVry, and I was stumbling around at DeVry, and I said, you know what? Electronic repairs is just not me. And at that time, I was working in the mall, at a clothing store in Woodbridge, really trying to find myself. And I think every young person at that age, they go and they try to find themselves, especially when they know, like myself, I knew that I was never a college person. Right off the back, I knew that. I knew that going right into it. I was like, there's no sense of taking out any student loans for college, and I'm just not that type of person. Always loved AV, but just never knew that it was actual business until I stumbled across the Sunday paper. There was no Google, there was no Indeed, there was none of that stuff. It was always get the Sunday paper, because the Sunday paper had all the jobs in there.
Right.
So once I got that Sunday paper, I stumbled onto a company called Professional Audio Consultants in Millburn, which they actually are still there, Millburn, New Jersey. And they were looking for a stock boy for their, stereo, company. And I said, I like stereo. Yeah, I can do stock. Let me just go. I just wanted to see what it was about. So being so surprised when I walked in there, it was not your average AV shop. It was not like, just a bunch of speakers on the wall and a bunch of receivers on the wall. All of their showrooms looked just like a living room or a custom theater, which took me by, a surprise. So slowly but surely, I got into the field, with the guys working into the fields. I was invited to go out into the field, and I gravitated to it, immediately. And I was amazed at, wow, this is actually a business, and they're actually paying me every week to do something that I really have a passion and I love to do. Once I could see exactly where this career could take me or the things I could learn. I said to myself, even at an early age, that if I ever get a chance, somehow, some way, I want to get back and tell the people, younger people who, hey, this is an industry, this is a business. I never knew that this was a business, or I was never told this was a business. This is a business that you can get into, and it's a lucrative business. You can actually make a really good living off of this, and a career. You can retire off of this stuff.
Right.
So when that opportunity finally came, immediately, of course, I jumped on it. But as far as me being a installer, I started at the bottom, and I don't not ashamed of how I started. Everyone starts at the bottom, to the point where I was like, okay, I'll be your stock boy. Oh, what do you need me to do? Also, oh, everyone has to clean the bathrooms. All right, I clean the bathroom. All right, that's no problem with me. I clean my own bathroom at home. All right, I have to use this bathroom too. Okay, yeah, I can clean up behind myself. So it was basically I always was humble, but it was like when it was asked of me, hey, this is what a stock person does. They clean the floors, they make sure everything is in shape and whatever. I had no problem with it. But I did know at that same time, when I was in the warehouse, I was looking at every box and studying every box, every model number, what it can do, what it cannot do, what did we have in stock, what did we did not have in stock. I used that time wisely to basically self-educate myself, to open up the boxes, just look at the manuals that were laying around, open up the manuals when it was quote unquote a little bit slow or waiting for that shipment to come in. Open it up, read it, ask questions. Hey, I have to go on the delivery. Okay, what do I have to do? You have to deliver these speakers to the guys out in the field. Hey, kind of stick around. Hey guys, what are you doing? What's going on? Just not being nosy, but being curious of exactly, hey, what do you do? I know what I do. What do you do?
I think that's important. I think that's a really important note, because you didn't wait for somebody to teach you. You
right.
figured out, you taught yourself, you figured out that you needed to learn more about what you were doing and how could you get that done. So I think that's a great point.
Absolutely. And, from there, back in the early 90s, they always say, hey, man, you missed the cash and carry. There was a lot of cash and carry every Thursday and Saturday, it was just cash and carry. But slowly but surely, the custom installation department was growing all over, and everyone was getting into it. Everyone was getting into custom theaters. People really started getting into music throughout the house, how to distribute music throughout the house and control it. So slowly but surely, I really started to get into that. I really was intrigued by, hey, I can control that room from all the way over here, or from the first floor, and I can control that room upstairs on the third floor. Yes, how do I do that? What's the equipment that we're using? So from there, that's when I started to get introduced to a lot of the manufacturers. Growing up, you always think there's just RCA and Zenith, and that was it. and maybe Sony, but then you start to see all these other manufacturers and see exactly what they can do. So from there, I really started to, again, self-taught, but really listening to my elders. I was always the youngest when I was coming up in the industry. There was always guys that were like 20, sometimes 30 years older than me. And I actually listened to what they have to say, and I still actually use those same techniques today. They never get old. Like I always tell people, I say, listen, Ohm's law never changes. The day that it changes, come see me. I said, but other than that, everything is still the same. So growing up in the industry, I was introduced to a lot of manufacturers, introduced to a lot of good people in the industry. Some are still in the industry, and some have either retired or they're just not with us anymore. But I have a rich history as far as being in that industry.
So all that being said, you worked for, integrators, worked in commercial, worked in home. What was it? You told me that you had a calling to go into instruction. What
Yeah.
was it? How did that feel? How loud was the voice? What happened
That was
with that
scary.
calling?
You see, I just had to take a deep
I
breath
see
because you took me back there. I was like,
I see. Oh.
Well, listen, when I got into teaching was in 2008. Again, I was doing really well for myself. I had some clients of my own, so I was really doing really well. It's not like I needed a part-time job. It was like, hey, listen, you're doing enough. You have at that time they're still young, but a young family where, the oldest, she was 7, and then the other one, I think Cece was like, I don't know, 5, and Jalon is like right behind her, 4, and married. So it's like, well, I wanted to see what else was out there. And then I forget exactly how I stumbled onto Lincoln Tech and the Miowa campus. And lo and behold, they were looking for a AV instructor, in the evening. I said, oh, that's like perfect, come on, out work from 6 o'clock to like 10 o'clock, whatever at night. And it was every night too. It was, I think it was every night except for Friday. And actually, her and I were still great friends today. And so the supervisor, she called me in and she said, oh, okay, let me just come in and let me just talk to you. So I sat at her desk and talked to you. She said, you know what, let's just go in. Let me just show you what one of the classrooms look like. And little did I know that was my interview. She put me right on the spot and said, okay, talk to the students. So she was captivated because I grabbed their attention. And I had their attention for more than 10 minutes. So that was like amazing to her. So she was like, well, I think you just passed the test. The job is yours if you want it. And I was like, oh, great. Yeah, sure. I'll do it. Let's go for this. Slowly but surely, everyone knows 2008, 2009, the economy started tanking. Unfortunately, they had to, close some of those divisions in the evening. And soon enough, there was no division at night. It was a tough time for everyone. So let's fast forward now to 2018, something like that, 2018, 2017, 2018. I was working for an integrator and doing really well with them, growing with them, not making like changes, but really adapting to them, bringing stuff to the table where I said, okay, we can do better if we do this, we can do that. And you said the voice wasn't loud, it was very soft.
Okay.
It's a very soft voice.
Okay.
And I've had that moment before where I'm just like, okay, it was like, okay, it's time to move on. Other people need your help. The mission is not complete. You did not complete what you wanted to do. You were taken away from it, 2008, 2009. There's still work that needs to be done. And whenever I hear that, I don't ask any questions. I learned that. Don't ask any question. Just do it. So now you think about it. Okay, here's a guy who's making really good money. He has 3 children and a wife. We didn't have a dog yet, but the dog was coming. And so, they're teenagers now, and, they go to high school, well, they're freshmen or whatever. Another one is in junior high. So money needs to come in. So I actually took the job and was making about $10,000 less. I was gonna make $10,000 less. They were kind of surprised that I left, but I said, no, I said, it's a calling. I said, it's something that I have to do, something that I'm called to do. I said, I still don't understand, but I guess I will understand exactly when I get there. So slowly but surely, they accepted my, me resigning. Everything was like mutual. They were still like scratching their heads, but they actually respected it. So that's the thing that I respected from them, is that they respected my wishes that, hey, it's nothing against you. I just have to go and do this. So, can you be with me? And actually, they're still supporting me till this day. So I went over to Lincoln Tech and I started meeting, a lot of people and a lot of students that not only needed the AV technology or the technology, but they needed like personal guidance. And they needed that guidance where they said, hey, mom is not listening to me, or dad is not listening to me, or dad is not around. you look like somebody I can talk to. Can I talk to you? So it started to turn into, hey, I can teach you this. I can teach you how to make a living, but I also can teach you how to maintain it and how to hold your head up high, that whatever you did before you got here, don't worry about that. All right, that's in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the calling. And I have encountered a lot of individuals who actually needed that talk. And as soon as that started to happen, then I said, okay, I got it. That's why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the AV stuff. We'll get to that part. You needed me to talk to this person, because if no one talked to this person, God knows where this person could be,
right,
or where someone else next to that person, could be as well. So I said, okay, I got it. I'm just going to close my mouth and do exactly what I need to do. And I'm still, still doing that very thing today.
I think that's cool. I was just writing down. It seems like you're not just an instructor. You're a mentor. You're a father figure. You're a guidance counselor, a therapist.
Right.
Yeah, you take on all those different roles. So
right, you have to be, and it's something that you really don't ask for. It's just something that you just plainly inherit. Mm-hmm. And say, hey, listen, by the way, this comes with the job too. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, all right, but just thank God for my parents. I mean, my father died when I was 12. He passed away when I was 12. So thank God my mother is still with me today. But thank God for his guidance for the 12 years that I've known him. Thank God for her guidance for the rest of the the years that I spent with her, that I had that nourishment at home. And a lot of people don't have that. They're unfortunate they don't have that.
It's true. And when you have that, or when you can find it somewhere, you're able to share it with other people.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, for me personally, and you talked about this a little bit, for me personally, college was not a choice. It was the only option, being in my family.
Okay.
It was the only option. They didn't care how long it took you to get done, but that was the only option, right? And I think about that now, and I remember having a boss who was like, oh, you don't need a college degree to do AV, and you don't,
Right.
I've come around in my way of thinking. I was really proud to have it, but you also get those student loans with it,
Mm-hmm.
That you'll be forever paying unless you get the scholarships and the grants, unless you do it in a different way. So I've changed my way of thinking too, that college isn't for everybody. Maybe a community college, maybe a jumpstart, and vocational school, trade school. And in this year, I mean, it's a total reset, I think, for everyone's thinking about how you want to handle college, or how you want to handle the next step after high school, because a lot of those different opportunities have been taken away from people, based on the current climate and just everything that's going on. So you talked about this a little bit, but what do you think about trade schools? What do you think, would you do it any different? Do you see students who you would recommend they do it any different? What do you think about it today? Do you still feel the same way?
I think trade schools are very important, because like you said before, not everyone is fit to go to college. I'll be the first one to stand up. I'll be the first one, to be leading that march and saying, no, that's me. You'll probably say, how did you guys get together? I'm not a college person, but she hates me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Uh-oh.
My wife went to Yale,
Mm-hmm.
and she was 16 when she went to Yale, 16 years old, and
super smart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I knew, that wasn't me, so it's like, we balance each other out, basically. And I'm the type of person to say, hey, listen, I don't mind reading a book, so forth and so on, and I don't mind the hands-on. But there was something about that college atmosphere where I knew that I'm not, and I want to say mature enough to handle that type of responsibility with college. Mm-hmm. So at an early age, I already knew that, okay, that is not me. There's got to be a better way. But I do find myself now, with, trade schools is telling people that, hey, listen, because you finished this trade school, you need to still go back and get a certification in some type of position that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So you're never going to stop learning.
Right.
It's just that I feel that, hey, listen, you don't have to spend, $100,000 to do something that you could do for half that, or, for like $25,000. You can
Mm-hmm.
still get that education, and you can still get a really good paying job and grow from there. So trade schools I love because it's something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It gives that person who says, I'm not a college person, where do I fit in society? Where do I fit in as far as learning on my level?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, everyone learns differently. Everyone learns different. And I know that firsthand when I have 30 people in a classroom, sometimes 36. So sometimes I'm like teaching a subject 5 different ways. I'm kind of like, out of my mind at the end of the day, and I just, what just happened? But sometimes, but I always say this to everyone that's in front of me that I instruct. I say, please give me feedback, because if you don't get it, that means that's on me. I have to shift. You don't shift. You stay right where you are. I'll come to you, and I'll come down to your level. You say, oh, you, Mr. Jones, you right here. I'm right here. Well, guess what? I can get down that low. Okay, I can come down to your level, and let me help you bring you up to where you want to be. So
you can close the gap between where you need to teach them and where they are, and get them to where you need to be. Right.
Exactly. And that's the question: is where do you want to do? Where do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Because as sometimes they may say they know, and sometimes they don't know. Then I said, okay, you do me a favor, give me 5 days, and I can pretty much tell you exactly where do you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it usually works out. Nothing is never 100%. Don't get me wrong. But I have a really good high percentage where I can actually reach someone and say, okay, here's your calling. Here's what you want to do. Here's
Mm-hmm.
the direction that I feel that you should go into. And that's all that a lot of people want to hear anyway. They want to be, they actually want to be heard. They don't want to be talked to. They want someone, hey, listen to me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what you have to be a lot of times. You just have to be an ear.
That's great. Well, you have some students that are doing some great things. They're going to work for, home integrators. They're going to work for manufacturers. They're going to work for commercial integrators. What do you think are some things that AV firms can do to attract and retain young people to the organizations? And your students who have moved into the AV industry, what are you hearing from them that they want out of an employer?
Actually, what I'm hearing about, what I'm so proud, what I'm getting the feedback from is that they are looking for integrators that are conscious of their well-being, that they want to grow in the industry. They just don't want to come here and be here. They want to say, okay, where can I be in 8 months or into a year? Are you going to continue my education of exactly what I need to know? Mm-hmm. So they have come back to me and said that, hey, listen, Mr. Jones, I did exactly what you told me to do. Ask those questions and say, hey, I want to learn how to do that. Can I get an account to get in to do some online courses? Can I actually take my vacation time? If you don't want to pay me, can I take my vacation time and go to this manufacturer and learn about this? I said, you got to be hungry. I said, you got to be hungry. I said, if you show them that you are hungry and that you're willing to do it, I said, a lot of times people have no choice but to actually, abide by exactly what you want, because right. It's only going to better everyone else. It's only going to better everyone. Anyone around them is going to that's going to rub off on them, and everyone else is going to excel.
Educational opportunities. So if it's an opportunity to go to a conference, if it's an opportunity Absolutely. To take classes from a manufacturer, if it's opportunity to just education, like you said, be a lifelong learner. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Not only that, it helps them to get out of their own comfort zone. Mm-hmm. I've had people who actually, and he's doing so well today. when I took them to a last year to an event in New York City. I actually was with Simcoe, and he said to me, and I said, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "Mr. Jones." I said, "What's wrong?" He was like stiff as a board. Everybody's around. He goes, "I'm not really good with talking with people." I'm like, "You tell me this now?" I'm like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I said, "Relax." I said, "Everyone here is talking the same language you are. We're all
Yeah.
here for the same thing." I said, "So just start talking about anything
Yeah.
have to do with high-end stuff, speakers, amplifiers." And I was like, "Just strike a conversation." He was slowly getting into it, but now it's like, I can't shut the guy up. You know, he loves going here. And
Yeah.
so I've seen him, he had to break that chain. And a lot
Yeah.
of them have to break that chain because they were like me. I was always here in, my city, which in East Orange, which I dearly love, but it was like, hey, there's more that's out there. There's other people that look like me and that don't look like me, but guess what? You're still gonna have to speak with them. And
Mm-hmm.
so go out there and open up your mouth and speak with them. So the networking part, I think, is very important, that when you actually do get a job, do not stop the networking. You're always going to find someone else. You're always going to run into another installer, like I always have. And we will all sit and talk about certain jobs that we've done. And then we will come up with another, yeah, oh, that's how you did that. And then we're like, oh, okay. And then you
Mm-hmm.
just start sharing information. And all of a sudden, you have a friend and you have a technician for life, that if you ever have a problem, just give that person a call. Just give that
Yeah.
person a call.
I think a lot of people look at networking as a sales function. It's what
Yeah.
salespeople do.
Mhm.
And, no, that's how you find out opportunities. That's how I found the opportunity at VER, where I am now, from networking, from talking to a person who I worked with in the past and getting
Absolutely.
introduced to someone else. And that is networking. It's not just about sales. It's about opportunity. It's about information.
Mhm.
but you do have to learn how to do it.
Right.
And you have to, maybe it's a power person who is used to doing it. Maybe you
Mhm.
kind of cling to that person for the first couple times and see what it is that they're doing and see how they do it. And they will introduce you, and then you introduce them to the next person. And I
Right.
used to do that a bunch. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and always, I always try to tell them, hey, listen, oh, Mr. Jones, I can't speak the way they speak. And that's always the fear. I can't do
Mm.
this the way they speak. I'm not from their neighborhood, whatever. I was like, then I'll go, I ain't either. And they'll start laughing and they'll go, Mr. Jones. I go, well, I ain't either. I don't know where I'm going. So, and I'll clown around with them. I say, listen, you know what? Be yourself.
Yeah.
People are going to sniff you out within the first 30 seconds, 20 seconds, if you're phony or not.
Yeah.
Be yourself. I said, just be
That's,
yourself.
yeah.
And I said, slowly but surely, if you want to say your grammar, the way you speak and everything else, it's just going to come natural. I
Right.
said, you got to just be around like-minded people. I said, if you surround yourself with like-minded people that want to succeed, I would say you're going to be fine. If you
Right.
surround yourself with knuckleheads who do not want to do anything, sit around and complain, I said, then you're going to be that person.
Right. I agree 100%. Be yourself. Mm-hmm. Well, what is the next venture for you? What do you think that you're going to do next in this world, in the AV world, and how are you going to continue your instruction path, or what are you doing next?
Um, I've always wanted to do coordinating. Always wanted to coordinate and become a PM, project manager.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking to get into that,
Mm-hmm.
in the near future. Um, but I'm also staying connected to anybody, not just people of color, all people.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. Who want help to find themselves as far as, hey, what kind of career do I want? I want an AV career. How do I go about doing it?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been talking to a lot of people in the last couple of weeks. Still have to reach out to a couple of manufacturers. And of course, this whole COVID-19 has got people all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but this is a perfect timeout for this to say, okay, I have time to do this thing the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do is launch in 2021 a very small program where it's a a weekend program for anyone who wants to send their recent technician or someone who wants to be a technician to myself and my colleagues, and we will train them. So right now, I'm still looking for a couple of manufacturers to help as far as the equipment, because this is the biggest thing that I have seen is the students that I deal with now. Sometimes you can say, hey, we're going to use this cable box, this DirecTV box, and whatever. And sometimes I got to hold myself and say, oh, wait a minute. Okay, they're probably not familiar with that type of cable box or that, box. This younger generation now, they don't even look at TV. They look at their phone, and that's it. 'Cause my kids do it too. They stand around and look at their phone. I'm like, that's a nice 27-inch TV I put on your wall and everything, and they're sitting here with a little phone.
Yeah.
So what I would like is, what I'm trying to get together is that a small package, for people who say, hey, I want to study X, Y, and Z. Small package of equipment, whereas I can say, okay, this is your equipment. We are going to do labs based off of your equipment. And any type of equipment, I can make up 20, 30 labs, at the drop of a dime. But this is going to give them practice on a daily basis, because anybody knows if you do something for 4 days straight, like you say, and then it's a Friday, and you go away for the weekend and you come back on that Tuesday, you say, what did I do on that Friday? How did I get to this? So when they have it and they have it right in front of them and they own it, it's just going to encourage them to say, you know what, it's 8 o'clock, the house is quiet, you know what, I'm gonna do some more practice.
Right.
Practice. Because if they don't have it in front of them, they're not going to do it. But if they have it in front of them, they are going to practice, because, hey, you look at, online, you look at all these other young kids, and I use that with my son. He's the youngest, and Jalon is, he's 14, and he has his level 1 certification in Adante. He finished level 2A. Now he's doing 2B. He's driving himself crazy because he's like, there's one thing that's wrong. I can't find it. But I saw a young kid online who actually is doing the same thing. And I was like, you got to beat this kid out. You can't let this kid beat you. So it becomes like a competition where you go. But I just tell him that because I say, listen, you want to be hungry because there's always someone else while you're sleeping. They're working hard. Yeah. I was like, so you got to stay on top of your game. So by giving these, and like I said, students, whoever they are, giving them small pieces of equipment where I said, hey, we're going to study this. I'm going to show you how to do this in various fashions. This way they can actually practice on a daily basis. And then when they come comfortable with it, they can go, oh, you know what? I'm going to go out and buy some more stuff, or I'm going to buy some on my own. And then they start to they really start to enjoy exactly what they do. So that's what I'm pushing for in the spring of 2021.
Okay.
Because I definitely want to not only do it online, but actually have a face-to-face engagement. Where I have a small facility where we get together and actually, have these, small classes in these sessions. Show them how to get their certifications, with different manufacturers. Introduce them to the manufacturers so they can go out and then meet them. And again, here we go. They can start networking. Because I have did that with so many students where they have networked with Crestron themselves. And actually, one student actually got a job just by networking with a gentleman who was in the same class with him. That gentleman turned out to be the manager of a small AV company and took a liking to him. Not only did he get a job, but he found another student that he was partners with inside the school as far as doing a lab, got him a job too. So it all works hand in hand. So that's what I'm definitely looking for in 2021 as far as getting that together.
Hopefully, as some of the manufacturers hear this conversation, they'll be able to, reach out to you and talk to you about this a little bit more, because as everybody knows, the more you know about a manufacturer's products, the more certifications you have in that product, the more you're going to specify it when you're, looking to, work on a solution or figure out the answer to a problem that a customer is having. I know this product XYZ does that. I'm going to recommend that for this customer.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. And if I may, because this brought it to my mind last night with a student who was very busy And so he missed a couple of days. He was one of my night students. And so he had to do some catch-up work. So I said, okay, listen, what you can do is you can come in early. And I said, and I'll work with you. And I said, and I said, I'll have everything set up and ready for you. And we can just do a 101 for like 2.5 hours before everyone else comes in for the evening. So I really got to know this young man. And it turns out he's an electrician, but he's not a licensed electrician. He's working for an electrician, so he's going for his journeyman. Mm-hmm. And when I started showing him, because everyone knows that I base my class off of Crestron, and I base it off of signal flow, how signal flow works. That way, when I can show them the logic symbols, and I can set it up so they can see the signal flow, how AV signal flow works. Mm-hmm. So it's a great introduction. So as I started to show him this, and some of the hands-on labs that I have for him, this young man was knocking it out because he already stood signal flow. And then when I started to show him some of the stuff, I said, okay, now that it's all put together, a client is going to say, okay, what do I control it with? I said, because I said, right now it's not finished. So as I was introducing them to it, this gentleman actually sat back in his chair and goes, that's how he did that. And I said, excuse me, this is a true story. I said, excuse me, he goes, no, he goes, I do residential. And he goes, I see this all the time. And he goes, my boss subcontracts work out to like programmers and AV installers. And he goes, and we just do what we got to do and we leave. And he goes, and I said, go ahead and say it. He goes, we'll leave him a lot of money on the table. I said, exactly. And so then he really sat
now he'll be able to fill that role for that company.
Exactly. So now he was like, okay, he goes, I really understand. He said, okay, this is starting to make sense to me now. So now he can see the bigger picture. Yeah. Whereas now he can actually be a consultant for his actual boss now to say, hold on, wait a minute. I understand how this works. Let me make sure this is being done the right way. Let me help you coordinate this the right way. I said, listen, this only makes you more valuable. So now he starts to see the bigger picture now of exactly what I'm doing, what I'm presenting. So everything that I do, I give them real life situations. Real life situations. Sometimes it's not all the time it's out of a book, but it's real life situations that I said, well, you're not going to find this in a book. And when I tell them stuff, I said, nope, because this was taught to me by a gentleman who was my mentor and retired. I said, you're not going to find this in the book. I said, but now you know it, so you just pass it on to someone else. So they really get a kick out of that stuff. They really get a kick out of it, and they get that aha moment, like, that's how they do that. I said, that's how they do it. I said, it's no secret anymore. I said, I'm telling all the secrets. It's no secret, no secrets anymore.
I appreciate that because my motto is each one teach one. You share the knowledge that you have, and you bring somebody behind you so that they can. They can understand, they can learn, and they can teach somebody else too. So I really think that that's the kind of person that you are. And I'm sure your students think that that's the kind of person you are. You live it and you breathe it every day. And I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that we're going to be out of time. So anything else you want to say? Final comment?
Well, anything else that I want to say, for people who are watching this, and some of them could be old colleagues of mine, some people could be people that I worked with 15, 20 years ago. So if you are watching this, I just want to say definitely thank you, because the person I am today is because of you. When you told me, no, do it this way, and I didn't listen, and you told me again, no, do it this way, it's because of you for what the person you see here. So the person you see here is, I didn't get here just by myself. There's a bunch of people, and there are a bunch of people who, again, like I said, they don't look like me. It doesn't matter, but they understood exactly the goal that I was doing. And I really thank them from the bottom of my heart, because if I did not listen to them, we wouldn't be talking right now. So if any of them that, I've lost contact with, Tommy, if he's listening, Greg, if you're listening, Dan, I already know your number. David, I know you. Thank you. Those guys. Lyric Hi-Fi, all those guys. Stereo Exchange. Thank you. Colleagues that I met. Everyone. Just thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it goes a long way. And so your teachings have gone forward to other generations.
I think that's great. I think that's a great way to wrap it up. And I think that there's a generation of young people who are taking your classes and who are following behind you, who you're going to be on their list
Great.
down the road. So yeah, I think that's a great way to wrap it up.
All right.
We're going to share your information for LinkedIn if anybody wants to connect with you about some of those future opportunities. And we'll share any other pertinent information too that you think you want to share, you know, for the school, for, you know, some of the students that have benefited from the program if they want to be listed as well. So thank you so much, CJ. I appreciate it. Can't wait to actually see you in person again next time, whenever that is.